Of course, all the news yesterday and today revolved around Artemis. And did I mention Artemis? Actually, it was a great event. And I got to see it up close and personal from a Space Force base at Port Canaveral. We'll talk about that briefly. There were a couple of very interesting items from Virgin Galactic today, one of which is a price change. Global Star stock popped 15% on acquisition rumors. SpaceX has formally filed confidentially for IPO ahead of its AI rivals, fueling the speculation machine once again. And across the pond, Spain approves a 350 euro ESCA expansion. Rocket Lab got German approval to acquire Mynaric. ESA is looking for a commercial provider for lunar payloads. We may know a couple. We can recommend them. China's CAS Space targets 607 million IPO for reusable rocket tech. All that. And our guest, Dr. Ajay Kothari, is back with us. From the news desk at the Center of Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. And as you know, this program is sponsored by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. And what do we do? Of course, you know, we champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space-adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy. Our pitch events and world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor ready. Now, a lot of our work, especially this show, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. So if you just go to cscf.space/support, and click that Plainest Day donate button. A little in the tip jar each month makes a big difference. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and, well, tell your friends. Now, speaking of friends, my oldest space friend, Michael Lane, in whose kitchen loaves and fishes are unexplainably appearing, is here with us. Feed us, Michael. Feed us all. Come on.
Yep, I am.
I was going to repeat something, didn't you?
I did. I didn't read your comments before, and I was like, "Wait, that's new." But yay! Yep, I'm blowing right out of here as soon as the show is over and going to mass. So
okay, you're spreading them out. Good
right,
for you.
Right.
Good for you. Good for you.
Hey, how's things?
Okay. It was a long day yesterday, at least a long evening. I went out, because I had to drive. I drove out to this Space Force base out in Port Canaveral.
Right.
It's just off the docks. You go past the docks north of Port Canaveral, and you go into the Space Force base. I had this little special credentialed visitor thing I had to wave, to the armed guards. Yeah. But I went to a place called the Sand Space History Center, which is part of that complex. They've got like 11 acres they're going to be developing. They already have the Space History Center. It was built with the assistance of an outfit called Carmen Line that you might have heard of.
Yeah, we talked about that on the show.
Jim Thomas is the owner, guy who runs it, and essentially it was a benefit event for them, for the Sand Center. And so I met a lot of interesting people there, most of whom I didn't know how much space affiliation they had, but they were mostly people on their mailing list, I guess, who were philanthropic in nature.
Great.
And I did meet a couple of interesting people and got to have a nice conversation with some of them, but there was almost no one there I knew. Megan was there. I knew the guys from Carmen Line. Rich Godwin, always shows up to these things because, the free food. And
does Megan live in Florida now? No.
Oh,
she was just there. For the
she was just wanted to be part of this. So, she has a completely different story that I can't talk about yet, but I'm going to try to get her back on the show, and we'll so we can straighten that out, which is kind of interesting, but it'll be fun.
Yeah, I noticed that Rick Tomlinson changed his new job to director of Space Fund, which he had left Space Fund for a while. So I was a little
Well,
curious. We can talk about that later offline.
we need to talk about that offline. I got the whole story, but we just can't talk about it publicly until Megan says it's okay. And
Okay,
so we'll try to get, but I want to get her on the show so she
great.
can talk about it. A lot of interesting things happening, and I think there are a lot of good will come from this in the end. But that's okay. Okay, so we had this beautiful launch. I tried to record it. I was shitty at it because, and the reason was, it's right there. You can see the thing just go off, big ball of fire, right? And it's so impressive for what it is that I'm trying to keep this thing aimed in the camera, but I want to watch it. I want to see it with my eyes.
Yeah, right.
Because it'll never do the thing justice.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
And so I want to see it with my own eyes, and you can see that huge ball of flame because it's coming out. It's going right over us. It goes right over us and above us and straight up. So it's like coming this way at you and then going out. And oh my God! And it's the roar and the rumble. You can feel it in your chest.
Yeah.
It's just insane to watch it for real. And since as a space-starved kid, when I remember the Apollo missions, I was on the other side of the country. My dad wasn't going to make a road trip to go all the way there to watch one.
Right.
So I finally got to see one before I, croak. So I was happy about that. And we're going to talk about that later. We've got our first two items are basically just a little back-to-back stories.
Wait. I want to share mine. Wait a second. So mine was a very different experience, right? Because I am on the other side of the country. So the closest thing we could do was me and 1,000, 1,200 space friends all got together at the Museum of Flight. It was crazy. They kicked off at 1:30, and by 1:40, the theater was completely packed. It's a 400-person theater. It's completely packed, standing room only, and they're setting up 4 different alternate viewing locations throughout the museum. So about 1,000 to 1,200 people were there. It was kind of bonkers. It was super cool to see little kids there and old people. We are in the heart of Blue Origin, so a bunch of their engineers were here. Of course, their own viewing thing, but the Museum of Flight, a lot of folks were there. So I saw folks from Boeing, Stoke, Blue, National Space Society had a really big presence. They had a display. Raytheon was there. Harris was there. So lots of vendors that supported it. National television. It made national television our event. And even NASA cut over to us, picked up some stuff, and then put it on restreamed it on their channel. So that was really neat. It was so weird though, because you had this giant auditorium. You're underneath the SR-71 Blackbird and all of their other display items, and the whole room was completely quiet. Like you'd have somebody like whisper in someone else's ear, but the whole room was completely quiet. And those last 10 minutes were almost like being in church. It really was. It felt like a temple. It felt like this moment of everybody holding their breath, everybody like crossing their fingers. It was a pretty great moment. And there were tears.
And you had those huge screens.
Yeah,
in a room. I've been in there. They're like the size of a Buick. These screens.
And
so you probably got a better shot at the actual moment of liftoff than I did.
Sure.
But we got the flyover.
We didn't get that.
But that was funny. But somebody I mentioned, we're walking back. We're out in the parking lot. We're walking back to the Sand Center, and we're going probably in the time it takes for us to walk back there and get our drinks, they'll already be in orbit.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, it was beautiful. Super happy about it. Rachel's reminding us that we've already chewed up 10 minutes. So yeah, let's just get into it. But it was a great show, and sincere congratulations to everybody that was involved. NASA, all their subcontractors and contractors. It's kind of nice to see Jared Isaacman out there, you know, with his new revised, updated schedule. So that was really cool to see.
It was just a great day all around. The only downside was trying to get home again. Normally, it would normally be maybe a 1 hour and 15-minute drive for me to land to this place. Took exactly, I timed it, 3 hours and 7 minutes. All of Highway 528 was just packed going all the way through until I could cut off of there. I went 38 miles. It took over 2 hours to go 38 miles. I averaged about 14 miles an hour, I think. And then, but once I got off onto Highway 417 North to head home, boom, it just raced. So I was like, you know, the rest of the way. But my God, the damage was done.
Yeah.
And I'm riding the clutch, and I've got a performance sports car, so I'm riding the clutch and burning premium gas, right?
Yep.
Price you pay for history.
Price you pay, for sure. It was funny. I left the Museum of Flight. There was a car in front of me. It took a left. I took a left. It went straight. I went straight. It went straight. I tracked it all the way. It took a right into the Blue Origin parking lot. So, like, somebody that I don't know who it was, but 20 miles away, we were tracking. We were stopping in the same stoplights, and he left the parking lot and went back to work at Blue. So that was kind of cool. Yeah. That's good. Right on.
So we're told to take our time and do some news until we're told to hurry. So I guess we're having some connectivity issues with our guest this evening, perhaps. So I guess we'll just move it on.
We'll do the news. All
okay. Right. Well, the first two are basically one's from Houston Public Media and the other's from NASA itself, just saying, yeah, they launched and this is cool and we'll share it with everybody. Maybe.
That's a great shot. I mean, really, that's a beautiful shot.
It is. But it's not showing up on the screen. Are you seeing it on the screen? I'm just seeing. There it is. There it is. Yeah, it was a beautiful shot. Look at that thing.
Yeah. That's from the NASA archives site. Yeah, actually, I hadn't seen that image yet. It was, everything was happening so fast. It's like, oh, right. But it's cool to see it just still like that moment.
Yeah.
Cleared the tower. All right. Well, anything else to say about this thing other than it's beautiful and fingers crossed for everybody? I've been checking the news sites. They had a minor problem with the plumbing for the toilets, so they had to MacGyver that thing apart and back together. So it's not quite the same as Apollo 13, where it's a crackerjack team trying to figure it out. Yep. But that's what they had to do.
And it only delayed like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
When it was, so that was okay, or 10 or 12 minutes is all it was, the delay to get it going. I was so concerned when I got there that here we go again. Right. It's starting. Here we go. Okay. No, I was so concerned it was going to be scrubbed after all that, and I saw the people, just regular folks just pulling off on the side of the road, and there's various areas on the the highway they can just pull off. Apparently, this has been done many times in the past, so people know where to go. And it was packed on both sides, just packed all the way down 528. Yeah, that would be a big disappointment for those folks too. So the traffic would have been the same going back, most likely, if they had scrubbed it. That would have been a complete
Right.
no-win.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I was worried about was weather. I was watching that really closely because, yeah. But everything else was like tick, 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 tick. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty neat. Pretty neat.
Yeah, it was like, well, okay, someone said it was like, what's her? She said it was like leaving Burning Man.
Oh yeah, Rachel. Yeah,
said, it was Rachel.
said,
Yeah, leaving Burning Man. Yeah, that's
yeah.
about right. Now, having never been to Burning Man, I can only guess. But okay.
Yeah.
Well, the next thing up, Virgin Galactic.
Virgin.
Well, they are building what they call a Delta class spaceship, and now it's doing ground tests. And they're going to begin those very, very soon. So paving the way for follow-on flight tests at Spaceport America, and they're the major customer down there still. And hopefully by year end, they're on track to begin private astronaut flights. And so there's not much there. Yeah, you have to subscribe to get more, I guess.
I did see later that in a different article that they've raised their price yet again.
Yep, that's the next one. That's the next one coming up.
Oh, sorry, the next one. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought on. For fuck's sake.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Hello. Yeah, it's gonna be the air's gonna be blue tonight, man. I'm gonna be joining.
Yeah,
blue.
It's not a family-friendly show. Sorry. That is the fun and joy and hazards of doing a live broadcast.
Okay. I find if I refresh the chat thing, I can actually, it comes back, so I don't lose it completely. But they were, they raised their ticket price to $750K. Remember where it was $250,000 to start?
I do remember that. That was good. Bring it up. Yeah, like okay. So let me get this straight. They're on spacecraft Delta, so ABCD, 4 of them. They only flew a very limited time during their earliest days. They moved the price from 250 to 350 to 400, steady climb up. It's supposed to go the other way, right? It's supposed to come down, but it's not because they never hit their flight cadence. This is their fourth.
It's all about the cadence. You're right. With every other thing in history, in tech sectors especially, and so we have this situation where, if you can't get your cadence going, you can't get your market going. It's not just that the cadence is the people that sign up. And so if you're not flying 100 people a year, you can't drop that price down. Right. Is what it comes down to. Okay, now we're told that by the producer that we have to rush it because our guest is here. And so we got about 7 minutes to cover everything. And I'll probably get kicked off a couple more times. So there you go. So what's the next thing? Well, this is an important one. There's big talk that Amazon is weighing acquisition of Globalstar, and their stock surged 15% yesterday. Yeah, that was huge.
That's a big deal. There's all sorts of talk because of the SpaceX IPO, which we'll talk about here in a second. A lot of companies, not just Globalstar, but a lot of companies had their prices bump yesterday. But Globalstar is a different story. So that one kind of takes on its own thing. I thought that was interesting. Yeah. I'm going to read a piece that I did not know before, so I'm going to tell everybody. Sure. One complicating factors is that Apple took a 20% stake in Globalstar in 2024 as part of a $1.5 billion investment to boost the company's constellation and ground infrastructure. So I think that adds a very interesting level of complexity Many years ago there was talk about Apple building its own satellite network. I never knew that they'd put anything into Globalstar, so that was a surprise to me. And does that say that Apple is still interested in a network? Is there a partnership there between Amazon and Apple? I don't know, but that makes me ask a lot of questions.
Well, Apple is as much a media company as it is a tech company now. So
sure.
that bandwidth is everything for them, because all their stuff that they're producing, including shows like
For All Mankind, right? That's theirs. Shows like For All Mankind.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah. I mean that. Yeah, they're which I am addicted to.
No spoilers, because I read that there's a space elevator in episode 8. I'm not up to it yet, so don't say anything.
I'm not going to say squat. So I'm taking I've waited a year and a half for this next season, so it's like I'm taking them one piece at a time and just savoring them, slowly.
Nice. Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Right. Hey, am I reading this right? Do we have the inimitable Dr. David Livingston watching the show today? Hey, buddy.
That could be too. The Real Space Show. That's him.
Who else could it be? Yay. Well, thanks, sir, for joining us today. Veronica, thanks a lot, y'all. I know Morty is off screen today because he's got other family obligations. But thanks, y'all, for being
some other folks I invite regularly. They never show up in the chat, but I know they're there. And so
you know they're
there. So hi guys. I won't embarrass you by mentioning your names, but
all right, we got a couple more minutes. Let's get through the last of these pieces.
Okay, we got there's two things about the SpaceX IPO. Just basically saying, yep, it's going public. The industry is buzzing, blah, blah, blah. And that they've actually, done this. And Bloomberg doesn't give you much because they're Bloomberg, obviously. But they filed confidentially, whatever that means. They've submitted its draft registration to the SEC. But the information isn't public yet, so they're asking not to be identified. But it's on track for a June listing.
Yeah.
So this could be the first of what could be a trio of mega IPOs ahead of OpenAI and Anthropic.
Right.
Okay.
Bonkers. That's bonkers all by itself. Yep. The Motley Fool article I thought was pretty interesting because it's they're basically saying that SpaceX is using the extra cash to cover its money losing XAI, which I was a little surprised by that. That was kind of the first really negative thing that I've seen about this IPO.
Right.
So I was a little surprised by that.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows they're trying to raise $40 to $80 billion in cash on a $1.5 to $1.75 trillion
valuation
offering.
Yep, on offer.
Yeah.
It's going to be insane, and that's just the first of probably many to go here. We've got a couple of minutes. Can we cross the pond? Because Spain just approved a 325 million euro ESCA Plus expansion of an Atlantic constellation. It's for the development of 3 Earth observation satellites that will expand what is already a 16-satellite Atlantic constellation. They're developing an Earth observation constellation for environmental monitoring, coastal surveillance, and disaster management. And it's a joint initiative between Spain and Portugal, actually. And so they want to contribute more to the Atlantic constellation with these 3 additional satellites. And so they're going to launch through ESA. The call for this development, it was directed to 3 ESA programs, the LAOPNT, SatNav, Iris-2, which is implementing, and the European Launcher Challenge, which will support PLD space in the development of their Mura rockets. So you got that going. But right behind it, get this, Rocket Lab, they're over in Germany, and they secured Germany's approval to acquire Mynaric. And they're an optical communications provider.
Yeah, a little surprised about that, but that goes hand in hand. So I think there's two pieces about that. We've talked a lot about Germany's $40 billion investment into the space sector over the next 5 years. This certainly seems a part of it. Berlin has been aggressively trying to recruit organizations to show up over there.
Yep.
So I think that's really important. And in a way, this is a sovereignty play, even though Rocket Lab is,
it is
kind of an American company, kind of a New Zealand company, kind of this chimera. Setting up shop in Germany is a good move. So yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. And I'm all in on optical communications, right?
Yep.
That is the future. And if you don't have that, you're not even in the game.
Exactly.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Now, I'm going to do 10 seconds each, two quick things. ESA is also seeking a commercial provider to deliver its NILS-2 instrument to the moon. And they're very clear they want a home source for that.
I don't know how to do it. Go ahead.
They don't want. They obviously don't want SpaceX. It's they're basically saying we need to get some homegrown guys that are capable of carrying one of our payloads to the moon. We're willing to pay for it, and so we'll see who steps up over there.
Yeah.
Okay. That's just what I wanted to mention. I thought it was interesting and vaguely important. China's CAS Space is targeting a $607 million IPO for reusable rocket R&D. That's a planned listing on their Star Market, according to a filing on, just yesterday or Tuesday. And so they're taking advantage. Chinese private space firms are now taking advantage of government support to pursue these things. So I guess they eased the rules or something. And so they're so everybody's got a big IPO push going on now. I left one thing for last. I just want you just to post it because this is the intro to our guest. Sure. It wasn't written by him, but it was written by Mark Whittington on the Hill. It says how the free market can free NASA from the space launch system.
Yay.
And I thought I just wanted to put the link up there for everybody. They could read that on their own. But I thought this was a perfect way to introduce our guest, who's also written extensively on the topic of how we can get to the moon and settle it all without Artemis if we have to, and probably for a lot less money. And so let's bring him in right now. Dr. Ajay Kothari returns to us tonight. He's the president of Astrox Corporation, and he has very authoritative views on Artemis versus private sector lunar exploration and settlement. And we raised a question the last time, a little bit ago, because NASA is.
I didn't hear your question.
Yeah, well, okay, there we are. I'm back. Yep. It goes away. Yep. I will make sure I'm there. The thing is that we talked before about NASA's seeding $20 billion to build a lunar base. That's the first thing I'd like to ask our guest tonight is, do you think that's enough? And what are you going to do with it? That's because it ties right into what he wants to say tonight. So let's bring him in, Dr. Ajay Kothari. There you are, young man. How are you, sir? Good to see you again.
Hey.
Namaste, sir.
Salute.
Okay.
Good to see you guys, and thank you for what you do. Thank you, Susan Key, also at the same time to everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. Happy to have you.
Thank you. So Shall I proceed? Or
Yeah, yeah.
oh, okay.
Give a tiny bit of
Yeah.
origin story and background, because
Oh, okay.
our audience changes and not everybody knows who
Mm.
you are. So please just give a little bit of your origin
1
story.
minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 1 minute is fine. I grew up in India. I mean, this was 50 years ago, of course, obviously, as a teenager, sitting in the jungle, listening to Apollo with a tiger sort of, not at that time, but tiger was living near our farm. We had a farm. My father had a farm. So we were, I was so impressed with the United States. And yeah, this is an important thing to say. This is important. I was so impressed with the United States. And then I, got my PhD, etc. Came here and got my PhD, etc. here. But then for 50 years, all that space exploration was kind of dead,
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
It's all changing now, and I'm very, very excited about that. Actually, with the new Artemis program that Isaacman is, putting together, and I was really quite excited about their, plans, and now the whole thing about going to the moon and all that, which never occurred in last 50 years, like this,
Right.
in a big way, in a big way. That
Yeah.
I am really very excited about and very happy to be in this position at this time. And I hope that it works out. Of course, we had the Artemis go up today, and I think they were supposed to do TLI. They may have already done that now.
Yep.
Not sure. But
Haven't
that
heard that term
program,
in real life for a long time.
I'm sorry, say that
Haven't
again?
heard that term in real life for a long time.
The
TLI,
TLI,
yeah.
you mean TLI? Yeah, okay. Well, the TLI, translunar injection, and all that for, I think it goes on for a few minutes, many minutes. And so that will put them on the path to the moon, and then in 6 days, they'll, go around the moon and come back. They will not
Yeah.
obviously do LOI, another term, Tom,
Yes.
lunar orbit insertion,
Yep.
etc. And
They
of
don't have
course,
the fuel, but that's another story.
yeah,
I know you. I know you have some stuff you want to share with us.
yeah,
But
I
before,
do have. So let me start
before we
with
do
that.
that, I just
Yeah.
had a question. I brought it up before you came on,
Oh,
which
okay. Yeah.
is, as you
Sure.
know, NASA has huge new plans for the moon, and
Yeah.
includes building a base, and they're seeding.
This is the same time that Tom went off last time too. That's
Yep,
right.
it's happened. Okay, no, but there's 20 billion. They're dedicating 20 billion to build a moon base. Do you think that's going to be enough?
Well, actually, it's 30 billion. It's 10 billion from now until 28, another 10 billion from 29 to 33, and another 10 billion after that. Phase one, phase two, phase three. Actually, I'm going to show that to you guys.
Good.
Okay.
Is
Right.
it enough?
It's for lunar base. I think it is. It is.
Okay.
It is.
All right.
It is. Well, I mean, these are all numbers being thrown around, and if they are not exactly the right numbers, we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But let's start with the 10 billion that at least we can start with the phase one, which is 10 billion. And
Okay.
I think that's probably enough if we do it cheaply, which is what I'm proposing here.
Okay.
So,
Well, let's get that started, and just keep
oh,
in
have,
mind. Keep in mind when you're going through these slides that
yeah,
some of our listeners are on Spotify, so it's just a radio show to them. They don't see anything.
yeah,
And so
okay.
maybe just a very brief 5-second description of what's on each slide, just so they have
Yeah.
an idea what you're talking about,
Sure,
would be
sure,
really helpful for them.
sure. And who is going to
Okay.
be changing the slides? Sean?
Yep.
Okay. So let's just go to the next slide. No. Next slide, please, Sean. Yeah. So this is you can't see the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the phase one of. This is very interesting. This is what Carlos Galan Garcia talked about during that
During that presentation on
March
last
24th.
Monday. Yeah.
Last Tuesday.
Yeah. Tuesday.
So that is very interesting, the way that they have divided up into this thing, but not that much, not that. But what this tells us really, and next slide, please. So I'm showing. Excuse me, I didn't describe the other slide. Excuse me, but this here. I'm showing the number of launches, which is at the bottom, in the phase one, which is only up to 28 from now to 28.
Right.
There are 24 launches that have to take place, and now obviously we cannot have 24 launches with SLS. We don't have a Starship going at this time,
right?
And so the 24 launches in this case, of course, those are clips and other things. But if we don't do this in a cheap and maintainable, sustainable fashion, which is what I'm going to talk about here, it's of no use. We can't do it. And if we want to do this, this is 24 launches.
24 launches. And the one that says 2026, that was yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Right?
Like 2 launches this year.
Right.
And that's, of course, going to be Falcon 9 with, I think it is the 2 clips program. They are already in the bag.
Yeah.
So that's okay. But the next one, the 10 launches next year.
Yeah.
How can you do that with Starship or SLS or anything? So you have to go with something which is sustainable. It has to be Falcon Heavy or Falcon 9 or something that Blue Moon can provide easily enough, which I have taken care of. Analyzed all of them. But the whole point is that we have to use something which is cheap enough, which is sustainable enough, which can be safe enough. And I know that Falcon Heavy has been safe 8 out of 8 times.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really I wouldn't say no brainer, but it's pretty close to that. Let's go to the next slide, Sean. Yeah. So the phase 2, we are going to start putting up infrastructure and establish infrastructure, and the clips capacity from 3 ton goes up to 5 ton metric ton, and so we have to kind of be ready for that also at the same time. Falcon 9 by itself will be struggling with that, so we'll go back to the next slide, please, Sean. Yeah, so now you see in phase 2 we are talking about you can see the number here is 27.
Right. And that's between 2029 and 2032.
32, right.
Yeah. Sorry, 32.
So 27 launches. We have to start thinking about something like Falcon Heavy, something, and then, of course, obviously the mass is going up.
Yep.
And the Falcon Heavy that I'm going to describe is able to take, with 4 flights of Falcon Heavy, and the way that I'm going to describe is that the upper stages will combine or dock, no refueling, dock only in. Don't worry about it, Sean. I'm going to go to it in a minute. I just want to say that this is a lot of flights. The next slide, phase 3. And then, the CLIPS lander payload mass capability has got to go up to 8 megaton. These are all very important things and very necessary things for us to have a lunar base on the moon, which is what President Trump wants, which is what the country wants, which is what Isaac wants.
Right.
Isaac Ben wants, Jared wants. We all want that, So my point here is that the real, and that will be in my slide. So I'll just shut up for now. Let's go to the next slide. Here for phase 3, which is still far away, so let's not really worry about it too much. Things are going to change a fair amount, but this is another 29 launches. Altogether, we are talking about 80 launches.
80 launches. I
80
I
launches.
literally was pulling up the math while you're. So that's
Yeah.
29 launches between 2033 and 2036.
Yes.
So
Correct.
80 launches in
Yes.
10 years.
In yes, approximately 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we are really talking about a lot, and of this thing. We have to find a way to do this. And also another thing in the next slide, Sean, is you can see here that we've talked much about putting people on the moon, but that's not what this next competition is about with China and other places. It's about the real competition is about establishing permanent presence on the moon with habitats and output. That's where the competition is now for us. We have to do that, and that requires. And I mean, as far as right now, I'm saying that Starship cannot do that. If the things change, they'll change. But at least at this point in time, the 8 to 15 refuelings that are required is just really very very hard for uh, for us to have be a sustainable presence. And also, of course, the fineness ratio that I've talked about before, that Starship has, which is 5 to 6, which is also a problem for landing. But the real problem is that the infrastructure for a permanent presence, which is indispensable, was a glaring deficit in the plan that Commerce Committee put together. This was not there. I'm glad that NASA has changed that
Right.
and added a lot to it. And so this proposed method herein may be the least costly, safest with margin, and the quickest method to supplement those plans and alleviate this deficit. And that option is to use Falcon Heavy as an add-on to the SLS plans. Whatever they're doing with SLS, people going there more safely. We don't have to worry too much about cargo in terms of human rating them and things like that. So we can take more chances. We are taking less chances with Falcon Heavy, but still we can take chances. So let's move down more, Sean. The next slide. So what is the primary requirement? Primary requirement for this possibility is that we have to have a reusable first stage to, obviously cheapen the cost, but also we have to have a low dry weight upper stage. We cannot have a high dry weight upper stage. If you want to combine the upper stages together in LEO, and then, I mean, that's what's the idea. Okay, so now I'll mention the idea. The idea is that the Falcon Heavy takes the payload, in this case 14 or 15 ton, one in one, and I'm proposing that we do this more often, and we change the paradigm of going into to solar system, not anywhere else but solar system. But then the upper stage goes to LEO. The second flight of Falcon Heavy, maybe next day or something like that, will go and not take the payload anymore, obviously, but that much more propellant. And Falcon Heavy has three possibilities, as a fully expandable, partially reusable, fully reusable. And those payloads for LEO are 64, 54, 38, something like that. I'm using here partially reusable.
Okay.
So that costs about 120 million each, something like that. So with those necessary requirements, Starship cannot do that. Starship's upper
Right.
stage payload is like 80. I mean, upper stage dry weight is 85 to 100 ton, and so that cannot do it. They have to do refueling. So what I am talking about here is that if you don't want to do refueling, we should not worry about refueling the cryogenic fuel. We don't have to. We can do this with in this manner with 4 Falcon Heavy flights will take 15-ton payload to the surface of the moon, all the way to the surface. It will do the TLI, it'll do the LOI, it'll do the landing, and you will see my calculations later. But you don't have to get into the calculations too much. But anyway, it's possible to do that. So that is there is no need for refueling. There's no need for stopover at NRHO, and now NRHO is gone anyway. The gateway is
Right,
gone.
gateway's gone. They're not doing that anymore. Yep.
That's very good too. So let's go to the next slide, Sean. So what I did was to first find out what is the delta V required for TLI plus LOI from LEO and for landing, and that is 3.2 kilometers per second, 0.9 plus about another 2 for landing. So for that together, it's 6,200 meters per second. For that, and for the ISPs that you can get from different engines here, hydrolocks or methalocks, so I just did calculation for all of them, and then that gives me the PF, that column here. That is the PF that I need to be able to do that. With that propellant fraction, if I combine 2 stages or 3 stages, 3 flights or 2 flights or something, and 3 upper stages too, then I have an not infinite, but hundreds of permutation combination with the payload, different amount of combination, permutations, etc. And so I can come up with various different solutions for here to the moon, to different, depending on who is doing it. Blue is doing it, or something with hydrolocks, or somebody else. So, or going to Mars, or going to Pluto, or going wherever, Jupiter, moon, whatever. So I can have hundreds of combinations created here, and some of that will work. Some of that will be, and it will be a lot cheaper because this is reusable per stage,
Right.
for all of them. All right, let's go to the next slide. This is the Falcon Heavy option. So I have created the Falcon Heavy upper stage in my code space side, and these are the actual numbers. And on the right hand side, you can see the numbers for 4 flights of Falcon Heavy will take 14 ton to the surface of the moon, based on the other delta V that I talked about. So, and then the next slide shows you how they are combined together in the upper stage, 4 of them. Now, if we go to the numbers that Carlos was talking about, which is 5 ton or 8 ton or something, we don't have to go to 4 flights. It might be 3 flights, it might be 2 flights. So all of that, but they are not going to do any refueling. They will just dock in LEO, and we can do that literally within a few months.
Oh,
So
that would be awesome.
so you can start putting stuff on the moon in different places with this, and that's what they want to do. That's what NASA wants to do.
Right, stage 8. Yep.
So it is really, and then you can see here on the right, for the 4 flights here, for 14-ton payload, how that happens. But if you have only 2 flights, obviously you can decrease the amount of payload that way and do the phase 1 first. Phase 1, whatever they require, you would be able to do it with maybe 2 flights of Falcon Heavy with the upper stage. That is really, really very, very useful for the country and cheap.
I love your last line. It makes no sense to attempt to use SLS for cargo. None
whatsoever. Yeah.
Well, at $4 billion a pop, you want to do 80 flights at $4 billion a pop. That's $320 billion, even spread out over 10 years. That's
right.
beyond NASA's budget.
Right
now.
Exactly. No, so it's just It's just there is no other option. This is what we can do. This for for the country, for the president, for the country next year. We can start putting stuff on the moon next year. Maybe this year also probably, but next year for sure. So that's the cost saving you can see compared to SLS. I mean, there's no comparison. So then go to the next one, Sean. New Glenn option. Also, I created the New Glenn upper stage here in space side, which is our code, STOX code. And actually, this is an actual sizing code. It actually calculates the amount of fuel required and puts the fuel in the tanks, and the tank sizes the tank, and the tank has to fit in the 7-meter diameter thing that we are talking about here, etc., etc. So that is next. Go to the next slide. New Glenn, yeah, that's one. So that you can see the numbers here actually for the weight. You can even see the component numbers here. Of course, nobody can see it right now, but I'm saying that I have it. And then for 4 flights of that, also we can take 14-ton payload to the moon surface, not NRHO even. Next slide, last slide, is the both options here. So as you can see, for cost saving for New Glenn and for Falcon Heavy, almost 80% cost saving compared to SLS. So this is really quite possible to do with this $10 million that you were talking about here, Michael, earlier,
Yeah.
And Tom. And so I'm suggesting that we change the modus operandi for going into exploring solar system this way, which is just to dock the upper stages. And and I know that India is doing it, but at this time India is going to do that. I mean, I don't know why we are not thinking about it, and we need to do that also. It doesn't hurt anything. I mean, to just even start trying to do this, with Falcon Heavy flight. We need to do this because of the fact that the phase 1 requires 24.
Right, you have to start there. If you don't get phase 1 correct, during this administration, the other stuff will not happen.
Right? Exactly. So I mean, phase 1 has to be done. This administration, whatever comes next, I hope that they continue. But even if they don't, this is a very good start and very good chance that we should take on this.
Okay.
That's the whole thing.
So going into this, especially after phase 1, maybe phase 1 it's all a private sector launch, but a NASA kind of operation to set this thing up. Is there opportunity for commercial to kick in at any one of these phases and do some commercial development in a way that actually helps defray the costs by actually creating, exploitable product?
Well, I mean, this is commercial, right? I mean, Falcon Heavy is commercial, so they can just simply charge a certain amount of money for putting a certain amount of payload to the surface, and they can take it up like that too. NASA is just maybe managing it to some extent, but it's being done by commercial entities. And
okay. Well, I guess my point is you're sending 80 launches to the moon minimum, and you're carrying a lot of stuff. You're putting stuff on the moon. I guess you really don't care much what that stuff consists of, besides the bare minimum to maintain an actual base and and a permanent structure there. But the rest of the payloads that come there could be entirely stuff that we can't even foresee now, that would be used for strict commercial purposes by the people sending those flights there. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, actually, if you were to look at, and I didn't have all the slides that Carlos had. He had some slides which had PNT being developed there, had obviously solar energy being developed there, base, of course, and other things. And they were also talking about redirecting all the, this is an aside, but redirecting all the stuff that is being done by ESA or Japan for the NRHO with the gateway back to the surface. And they are saying that they are all excited about doing that. So that's all that is being done. While that is being done, there is other things that need to be done. I don't remember everything here, which from the Carlos's slides, but there were many other commercial activities of the type that Tom is talking about that can be taken there, and that can be. Let's see. There was also, of course, RTGs, and there was fission reactor in phase 3, and although fission reactor and all that would be still government controlled, but I think that there was a lot of other stuff, commercial stuff, incidentals,
Mhm.
um, of course, food and everything else.
I'm gonna pull up Dr. Livingston's question
Yeah.
for you, AJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just going to
Sure.
mention that.
Yep.
Yeah.
What are the probable commercial markets, and when do they develop, or at least start developing? And we only have 4 minutes left, so
4 minutes, and then I have to do that 5-year and 25-year thing also, at the end. Well, I mean, if you look at, I don't have Carlos's slides here, but they have thought about more or less everything. And I think that if you can find those slides, I have them at, here, but I'm not showing them. I mean, but there are a lot of things that can be commercially developed. The incidental, of course, incidentals, but energy, but taking food from here, taking all those things that they are going to do, and can we run over? Yeah, sure. Somebody asking, can we run over? No. Okay, not you. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, all that is, I since I don't have the slide in front of me, I can't talk about that. But David, I will talk to you privately about that. Sure, very soon.
Yeah, because he has these questions. I have them too, obviously, because I'm looking at not only do we build these things on the moon, but ultimately get jump starting a good cislunar economy where these things will actually start paying for themselves over time. And that may take us, and given your projections already, I'm just saying, Michael, you can chime in too. I'm thinking probably 2040. We might get to a place like that.
God,
but probably no sooner.
I mean, I want it to be sooner, right? I'm betting everything on it being sooner, right?
I think that would be sooner, especially with these plans that they have about sending so much stuff to the moon, and some of that, obviously will be commercialized over there, and obviously we are going to do a lot of ISRO things also, and get some of these PGMs and all that. But I mean, I'm not very good at commercial forecast, so I'm really not getting into it too much.
That's fine.
Yeah,
not a problem. But given what you do know, let's we're about a minute and a half to go. Let's go into 5-year and 25-year. What do you think? Has your thinking changed since last time?
Yeah. I don't remember what I said last time, but that's
even better.
Yeah, it's better. It's definitely better. Based on the plans that I see for lunar base and for the new Artemis and all that, I think we are talking about whatever plans they have from now to 28, then 29 to 33, and 33 to 36. All that will be extended by 2-3 years. First one, but probably by a year or 2 year. second one by 2 years, and third one by 3-4 years. So I see a lot of development and a lot of possibilities in next 5 years of lunar base starting to develop, PNT being produced, so of course some astronauts staying there for week or two, and in phase 3 I see astronauts staying there for 28 days and coming back.
Okay.
So a lot
Okay.
of people, I mean, I would think maybe 100 people living there in 15 years, not even 25.
Okay.
100 people there in 15 years.
15 years.
Okay. That'd be good. That'd be good.
Temporarily, and coming
Yeah,
back and going back.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And on that, we have to close the show, but Dr. Ajay Kothari, thank you so much for being with us again. You're always so authoritative, and you do your homework, and you bring it and show it to us, and it's wonderful. And I'm glad to have you on our show. I'm glad you're such a supporter of the show, and thank you for that. And we'll definitely have you again real soon.
Well, thank you very much, Tom and Michael and Song, very much. And next, I would like to talk about thorium molten salt reactors for data centers.
Okay.
Terrestrial.
That's one of my favorite subjects. I'm all in, man. Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks so much. Okay, that was amazing as always. He always brings the receipts and shows the homework. Oh my God! So yeah, more people at that level should be listening to him. On Monday, it's going to be a good show too. We have our friend Jason Held is coming back, the CEO of Sabre Astronautics in Australia. He's an amazing guy, and I'm looking forward to talking to him again, and I'm sure you are too. And at that point, for Michael Lane and Sean Key, and for our guest, I remain Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.